Why I might switch my blog to Substack. Despite a few weeks ago switching all my blogs from self-hosted to Medium, I switched to Medium to abandon my self-hosted sites. The main reason being reducing backend work. I just spent too much time in my eyes updating plugins in my WordPress backend, figuring out which settings for the dark mode plugin would work best, only to then copy it all to the other blogs. I needed something else, something that would allow me to just create an account and start writing, in case I would start yet another YouTube channel. Currently, depending on how I count, I already have anywhere from 5 to 15 channels present on multiple platforms as text, audio, or video. I distinguish between the following content formats. There are simplified to lengths of any format or medium, short and long. There are simplified 3 different mediums. 1. Written text with inserts, blog posts, newspapers, book, tweet. 2. Audio, something to listen to, audiobook, podcast, short form audio clips. 3. Video, something to watch, both audio and visual, so visual, but changing over time. The basic idea once was that every piece of content could be offered in multiple formats, so in multiple mediums you could say, and live on corresponding platforms. One idea was that blog posts were simultaneously video scripts, therefore every channel could have a blog. I could turn the blog posts then in some way or another into video, maybe by reading. The audio from these videos would be the podcast. But for this to work, I would need a domain or subdomain for every channel, but domains cost rent and the backend takes time to maintain, so I switched to Medium. The promise of Medium, it's like my blogs, but the backend is outsourced. So, in case you don't know, Medium is a site that allows you to blog with an outsourced backend, you could say. So it is basically a social media site where you can just write longer blog posts, similar to Tumblr, Facebook, and so on and so forth, but focused on blogging. Did it work? Yes, partially. It got me back into writing more. But also, I constantly got bombarded with Medium's recommendations. One could say that one could just ignore these recommendations every time I would log in, somewhat clickbaity writing. But they also appeared in my backend, even on my blog. But I didn't want to read that. Neither did I want to upgrade to the Medium Premium membership, as well as I would prefer not to pay for 10 plus Twitter Blue accounts just to still be featured in the Explorer section on Twitter. So today I made the first Substack account, my first Substack account. It seems to neither want to upsell me nor bombard me with random recommendations, at least as of now. It also allows multiple indentations, I'm not sure what is right, which I use in my private notes in order to create visual hierarchies within sentences. So I usually write in OneNote my private notes, and there I just separate these visual hierarchies, or the sentences and the sub-sentences. And then if you have multiple subpoints of something that is an example, you can just always just make one more indentation or indented. It seems better. Besides, the interface seems clean. I don't need to reformat my private notes. Also, the import functionality from Medium to Substack was fairly straightforward. You could just download all the blog posts from Medium and then just upload the one file to Substack, and it worked seamlessly. One of the basic ideas with the channel system was that I would just distribute the private notes I wanted to publish that could be useful to someone. So I would record notes in my life anyway, and so the idea was that some of these notes I could publish while simultaneously documenting certain parts of my life, like the time I switched from Medium to Substack. The backend seems clean. The new notes feature offers writing in normal bullet points, so this is a Twitter competitor, and you can also write in normal bullet points compared to Twitter, where you can just use this normal line in front of typing. I think it's called hyphen. I could use Substack with the notes therefore for short as well as long text-based posts. Of course, ideally one would post every piece of content, even a tweet, to as many platforms as possible. In practice, multi-platform tools cost money, and most platforms are not really incentivized to allow the posting of content cross-platform, since the other platforms are their competitors. One example of this would be TikTok, allowing you to export, but only with watermarks, which then the other competitors don't really allow or shadow ban on their sites. At least till now. As a one-man show, the management and distribution of content to even the current platforms I post 2. I post text, currently tweets and blog posts, podcast, the audio and video from the long videos, and video, short and long video. 2. Even the primary platforms is in my eyes still taking too much of my time. In the last week's example, for example, I stopped posting my short videos 0 to 60 seconds to TikTok, since the web upload tool wouldn't let me change my accounts without constantly showing me error messages. Apart from basically being an unusable web platform that constantly plays back other people's videos, which I don't need when I work. In other words, just like Medium, it lacks the necessary professionality. Apart from a whole other discussion about TikTok reading out your phones or notebooks data, just like other social media platforms, but with a different governmental structure behind. And finally, Substack also allows you to build a platform-independent email subscriber list. If I stop posting to TikTok, I can consider my 44 subscribers to be mostly gone, thereby combining two different content formats, the blog and the email newsletter, into one. You could also do this on Medium, but I think you might not get the actual emails. So similar to how many monetize channels with offering additional content on Patreon or offer a free newsletter to collect emails, I could use Substack as blog, as newsletter, and possibly as the one thing that might be somewhat valuable to a reader, viewer, listener, while still offering the actual content for free. Free in red form as video and audio, so in podcast form or on YouTube, for example, maybe also on Facebook and Instagram, and in text form, I could maybe discuss in the future to monetize Substack by making posts subscriber only, thereby eliminating the need to create original, ideally exclusive content for platforms like Patreon. The use case for the blog, similar to how Andrew Huberman, for example, has a newsletter, which is also available as blog. These notes here, the blog posts, and potential use by using the advantages of the written word plus inserts, linking things, visual hierarchies, nonlinear consumption, skipping certain parts, skimming, reading fast. And also the fact that if you talk, there is a lower threshold for accuracy, I would say. And if you write, there is a higher threshold or a higher quality expectation. You have to be more concise, because people usually take longer, probably, to read the same thing that would otherwise be read aloud or talked about. Their feed won't care about the fact they once watched something. Speaking about TikTok, in my experience, as you stop posting to TikTok, traffic drops too close to zero. On a few channels, it also might make sense to try to approach an academic writing style, for which the more formatting options on Substack could be useful, or could become useful. There also seems to be some ability to read your blog posts and offer them on the site itself as a podcast, which till now I did already, so I already have these readings I am currently doing. As you are listening to this, you are listening either to the podcast or you're watching this, just posting the videos independently as podcast and to YouTube. On Notes for Shorts, I had 3 stages with the production of short videos. 1, just talking without notes. 2, talking with talking points, collected the ideas in my task manager, and sometimes riffing off of them. And 3, tweeting these, which made them scripted, which is one of my major distinction variables for my different formats. I could now tweet my notes for shorts, similar to how a blog post like this might just be a video script in Substack notes. Yet I decided to not read them with my face, since I dedicated to not edit videos. I decided to not edit videos in order to iterate more on basically the talking side, on the production side, instead of iterating myself and learning in the editing process, which I think is the better lever. Which means if I still want to embed screenshots, pictures, then the only format left is a screen recording. Downsides, similar to how Twitter just might be the more useful platform to reach any kind of traffic simply due to the network effect. Citing from Wikipedia, network effect, in economics, a network effect, also called network externality or demand side economics of scale, is the phenomenon by which the value or utility a user derives from a good or service depends on the number of users of compatible products. The downsides of every platform that isn't number one is probably overall traffic. In summary, let's see how that goes. I might write a few updates along the way, maybe also try out Substack Notes a bit, but in comparison to Twitter, where I use a feed blocker to make the website somewhat usable, there seems to not be any browser extension to block the Notes feed until now.